Okay, good morning. Uh, Today we will discuss uh, some important aspects regarding the basics of nervous system. As we know, nervous system is one of the very important system of the body, and it is quite difficult to understand the complex concepts of nervous system also. But today we will try to understand some of the basic concepts related to nervous system, and we shall see how easily we can understand these concepts without any confusion. Now, nervous system should be studied with the two important perceptives. Whenever you get a nervous system should be basically studied under two headings. One is you have to see the structural aspects of the nervous system, or we can also say the anatomical aspects of the nervous system, and another one is functional aspects of the nervous system or physiological aspects of the nervous system. These two are completely different. Structure of the nervous system and function of the nervous system, both are very complex matters. Okay, now to make the study very convenient and easy, we have to divide this nervous system into two parts. One is a structural part and another one is a functional part. Structural part includes different structures which constitutes the nervous system, and functional part which includes the different functions of the nervous system, how it is carried out. Both are very interesting and very complex at the meantime. Now, broadly, nervous system is divided into two parts. We know that one is central nervous system and another one is peripheral nervous system. One which is present in the center is called as central nervous system. What is present in the center? That is brain and as well as spinal cord. Spinal cord is also present in the center of the body. Periphery, the nerve system which is extended from the center to the periphery, that is called as peripheral nerve system. Okay. Now, if you see central nerve system, it constitutes brain and spinal cord. Again, the brain portion again constitutes many things. What are the main? I think by this time you know that all these things. The brain portion includes cerebral cortex, or what we say cerebellum. Then it also includes midbrain. Then it includes cerebellum. That includes pons. Then it also includes medulla oblongata. And before that, it also includes the part of the basal ganglia, etc. Different types of ganglios. This is inside the brain. We know that central nervous system is also extended out of the cranial cavity also. That is spinal cord. So spinal cord also contains the central nervous system, which is extended outside the cranial cavity up to where? It is extended up to lumbar vertebrae. L2, L3 lumbar vertebrae. Till that area we will have the pia mater, dura mater, and as well as arachnoid mater. Of course, pia mater still extend down to form the phylum terminale. So this is how the central nervous system is divided. I think it is very clear. Okay, there is no confusion. Now, central nervous system, if you see, the main function of the central nervous system. So now we have seen very broadly, we have seen superficially, we have seen the structures. Now look at the functions of this particular central nervous system. Central nervous system, the main function of the central nervous system is to collect all the information from the different parts of the body. Okay, so it's a center actually. It's a center. That means information is coming from all over the body. And what is the main function of the central nervous system is it collect all the informations from which is coming from the different parts of the body, and then it want to give a response against that. Okay. So now it collect the information from the different parts of the body, from where how this information is coming to the central nervous system from the different parts of the body. It is coming through the different sensory nerves and sensory tracts. Okay, so we have got different sensory nerves, we have got different sensory tracts, and all these tracts and nerves, they are bringing so many sensory information into the brain through the hypothalamus. Okay, so into the brain, And now your brain collect all this information and then take a signal out of it and then try to give a motor response for that. So collecting these signals and afterwards giving a motor response against that for that particular signal, that is a function of the central nervous system, main function. Okay, the received sensory signals are now processed, then it is compared and contrasted with the previous experiences and analyzed, and afterwards a suitable motor response will be given from the CNS. So this is what actually CNS doing. CNS is receiving all the sensory impulses from all over the body through different sensory nerves and tracts, collect it, compare it, process it, analyze it from the previous experiences. For example, you have a feeling of hot sensation. Okay, you are touching a hot ball, suppose, or hot vessel. So as soon as you touch, the heat sensation will be carried to the brain, central nervous system. Now brain already has the previous experience of hot sensation after touching a hot vessel. So now there is a previous experience will be analyzed. Okay, ऐसी बहुत सारे प्रीवियस एक्सपीरियंस ब्रेन में पड़ा हुआ है पहले का, जिसको हम आयुर्वेद में बोलते हैं स्मृति. ठीक है, पड़ा हुआ है. तो वो जो स्मृति, ठीक है, वो स्मृति को जो भी यूज में लेते हुए उसके बाद उसका भी हेल्प लेते हुए it will give a motor response. This is a function of the central nervous system. So these motor responses are carried through the motor tracts. So sensory tracts के through sensations आ गया, और ऊपर से जो motor tracts है जो नीचे आ रहा है, from the center to downwards periphery, the motor tracts are coming. Through that this motor response has been given. So this is totally the function of the central nervous system function. Okay, now what is a peripheral nerve system? What do you mean by peripheral nerve system? PNS or peripheral nerve system, it includes other than all these parts. Brain नहीं है इसमें, spinal cord नहीं है, ठीक है, brain का structures नहीं है, spinal cord का structures नहीं है, उसके बाद उसको छोड़ के जो भी चीज़ है, so they all comes under the system of peripheral nerve system. So what is this? This includes, while peripheral nerve system includes the sensory portion which brings the sensory information from the periphery to CNS, and the motor response which is carried from the center to the periphery. Okay, so peripheral nerve system का मतलब nerves है जो peripherally जो spread हुआ है. Peripheral area of the body में जो spread हुआ है वो जो nerves क्या है, या तो sensory nerves है या तो motor nerves है. Sensation को periphery से center को लेके जाने वाला nerves है, और वहाँ से center से motor response को periphery में लेके आने वाला nerves है जो motor nerves है, पहले वाला जो सेंसरी नर्व्स है. तो ये दोनों सिस्टम मिला के बन गया पेरिफेरल नर्व सिस्टम. इट कंटेन्स लॉन्ग नर्व्स, बड़े बड़े नर्व्स है इसमें. ओके, सो दिस इज कॉल्ड एज पेरिफेरल नर्व सिस्टम. नाउ दिस पेरिफेरल नर्व सिस्टम इज अगेन डिवाइडेड इनटू टू पार्ट्स.
स्लाइड चेंज नहीं हुई.
सो दिस पेरिफेरल नर्व सिस्टम इज अगेन डिवाइडेड इनटू टू पार्ट्स. व्हाट इज दैट? वन इज so this peripheral nerve system is again divided into two parts. One is sensory peripheral nerve system and another one is motor peripheral nerve system. We know that जो sensation को लेके जाता है periphery से center तक, that is called as sensory peripheral nerve system. वहाँ से जो है sensation motor response को नीचे तक जो लेके आता है, that is called as motor periphery nervous system. Now if you see सेंसर पेरिफेरल नर्व सिस्टम, जो सेंसेशन को जो लेके जाने वाला सिस्टम है, सेंसरी पेरिफेरल नर्व सिस्टम डील्स विद द ब्रिंगिंग ऑफ द डिफरेंट सेंसेशंस फ्रॉम द पेरिफेरल पार्ट्स ऑफ द बॉडी इनटू द सीएनएस. ओके, इनटू द सीएनएस बहुत सारे सेंसेशंस को वो सेंटर को लेके आता है. इट मे बी हीट सेंसेशन, इट मे बी कोल्ड सेंसेशन, इट कैन बी टच सेंसेशन, क्रूड टच सेंसेशन और फाइन टच सेंसेशन, स्टीरियोग्नोसिस, बहुत सारी चीज़ है. So now this sensory peripheral nerve system is again divided into two parts. One is sensory peripheral nerve system for special senses and sensory peripheral nerve system for general sensations. Okay, so sensory nervous system for the special sensors. Special sensors, that means it is only for the special senses जो हमारा ज्ञानेंद्रिय है, ज्ञानेंद्रिय से रिलेटेड है. First one, that is sensory peripheral nervous system for special senses. It is actually not present all over the body. Of course, we can say all over the body because skin is also a important special sense. Anyway, skin आयुर्वेद के हिसाब से जो है त्वचा भी जो है वो ज्ञानेंद्रिय में आता है. So anyway, peripheral nervous system is again divided into sensory peripheral nervous system for sensory peripheral nervous system is again divided into peripheral nervous system for special senses and peripheral nervous system for general sensation. Peripheral nerve sensory system for special and as well as general sensation. जो special senses में क्या आता है, इसमें auditory sensation, visual sensation, okay, taste perception, okay, smell perception, जो भी हमारा ज्ञान इंद्रिय है, okay, so and then the touch sensations basically. So this includes under the special sensations. Okay, this also includes one more special sensation में एक और आता है कि also includes the sense of balance, equilibrium from the vestibules of the cerebellum. Cerebellum का जो vestibules है वहाँ से immediate होता है वो balance and or equilibrium. So this is called as a special senses. Special senses. Now, if you see the other part, that is peripheral sensory nervous system for general sensations. Special sensation तो हो गया. Now for the general sensations. Now the peripheral nerve system for general sensation is again divided into two parts. What is that? Peripheral nerve system for general sensation again divided into two parts. One is for the somatic sensations and another one is for the visceral sensation. Okay, somatic means this is something related to skin and peripheral part. Visceral means from the organs. Organs में भी sensation होता है ना, तो उसको भी कैरी करना है. और स्किन और सबक्यूटेनस एरिया यहाँ पे भी सेंसेशन होता है, उसको भी कैरी करना है. ओके, सो दिस इज हाउ द सेंसरी पेरिफेरल नर्व सिस्टम इज डिवाइडेड basically into special and as well as general. Now the general is again divided into somatic and as well as visceral. What do you mean by visceral sensation? Visceral sensation is from the different visceras, different organs of the body, and that is carried through these nerves into the CNS. Okay, so now this includes the feeling of a sensation of abdominal distension. जब आपको abdominal distension होता है, वो जो sensation है, ठीक है, वो somatic sensation नहीं है, वो क्या है, visceral sensation है. या तो आपको dull aching pain हो रहा है, ठीक है, कोई स्टमक के अंदर कोई प्रॉब्लम है या इंटेस्टाइन में कोई प्रॉब्लम है, सब ऑर्गन्स है, वहाँ पे कोई प्रॉब्लम है, आपको कुछ एक डल इन्फ्लेमेशन वगैरह हुआ, पेरिटोनाइटिस, डल एक पेन हो गया, सो डल एक पेन है, या कोई स्क्वीजिंग टाइप ऑफ पेन है, तो एक्चुअली ये सब विजरा से आ रहा है. स्क्वीजिंग टाइप ऑफ पेन इंटेस्टाइन से आ रहा है, विजरा से आ रहा है, तो ये जो सेंसेशन भी कैरी होगा ना, ये जो पेन का सेंसेशन भी कैरी होगा, स्किन से नहीं हो रहा है, विजरा से हो रहा है, इंटेस्टाइन से हो रहा है. हाउ दिस इज कैरिड थ्रू दी visceral sensations. Okay, so general is again divided into somatic and as visceral. Somatic related to skin and visceral related to organs. Now let us see about the somatic, I think. Okay. Now somatic sensation. What do you mean by somatic sensation? This is very important. The sensations which are produced from the skin, subcutaneous fascia, deep fascia and superficial areas of the body. So they are all included under somatic sensation. Now there is one difference in the contemporary science and Ayurveda. What is that? Ayurveda consider twacha also as one of the jnanendriya. Okay, whereas contemporary science not consider twak as the special sense. त्वक को जो है उन लोगों ने जनरल सेंसेशन, जनरल में भी सोमैटिक सेंसेशन में डाल दिया. बट व्हाट आयुर्वेदा कंसिडर इज त्वचा is one among the ज्ञानेंद्रिय. We know that, isn't it? So this is one difference. But ये लोग जो है contemporary in science, so they put this somatic sensation originating from the skin, subcutaneous fascia, deep fascia, superficial areas of the body. इसको सब जो है they included under somatic sensations, which comes under the general sensation. Now, hence different sensations which are produced from the skin. For example, sensation of heat, sensation of cold, sensation of touch, deep touch, crude touch, ठीक है, vibration sensation, they are all considered as a somatic sensation because it is originated from the skin. In the skin there is so many receptors for these particular sensations. ठीक है, for this sensation there are receptors. So when these receptors are get stimulated, then that sensation will be carried through these particular somatic nerve fibers and into the sensory fibers and then go to the brain. So this is one part of the somatic sensation. Okay. In the somatic sensation, there is one more important part is there. What is that? That is called as proprioception. Okay. This is actually very important. What do you mean by proprioception? See, this proprioception is also included under the somatic sensations. Proprioception receptors are those receptions or perceptions of movement, of position of the body, arising from the muscles, tendon, joint, inner ear, and this helps to maintain the position of the body in the air. Now you see, when you are walking, ठीक है, आप जब चल रहे हैं तो एक कदम आगे बढ़ाया, उसके बाद दूसरा कदम आगे बढ़ाया. आप कभी सोचिए कि ये कैसे पॉसिबल हो रहा है. मतलब एक कदम आगे बढ़ाया, उसके बाद दूसरा कदम भी आगे बढ़ाया, नीचे रखा आपने, फिर भी आपने गिरा नहीं, बिकॉज द बॉडी इज सेंसिंग द सेंस ऑफ पोजीशन. ठीक है, तो ये पोजीशन सेंस को बॉडी सेंस कर रहा है. हाउ इट इज सेंसिंग? इट इज सेंसिंग बिकॉज ऑफ बाय द मूवमेंट ऑफ द मसल्स, बाय द मूवमेंट ऑफ द जॉइंट्स. ठीक है, सो सम ऑफ द फाइबर्स also arise from the muscles and also from the joints, which gives a sense of position. While sometimes when you are sitting straight, isn't it? You are not sitting in an odd position. You are sitting straight. Why you are sitting straight? Because you know the position of your body. How you come to know that position of the body? That is because of this sense of a sensation which is given from the joints and muscles of your body. Okay, so therefore this is very fast acting, isn't it? Proprioception is very fast acting. जब आप चल रहे हैं, जब आप दौड़ रहे हैं, जब आप बैठ रहे हैं, ठीक है, आपका बॉडी पोजीशन अपने आप एडजस्ट हो जाता है. इसका मतलब है दिस इज वेरी फास्ट एक्टिंग. एंड यू नो दैट द प्रोप्रियोसेप्टिव रिसेप्टर्स का जो सेंसरी नर्व्स है, उसका जो नर्व्स है ना, दे आर हाईली माइलिनेटेड. वो इतना ज़्यादा माइलिनेटेड है इसलिए कि उसका जो भी रिस्पॉन्स लेके जाना है वो फास्ट लेके जाना है. So therefore they are highly myelinated fibers. That we will see later. Okay. Now this is called as proprioceptive receptors. So टेंडन है, मसल का टेंडन है, जॉइंट्स का मूवमेंट है, मसल्स का मूवमेंट है, पोजीशन सेंस है. That means when your body is in air, that means when you are walking or when you are standing or when you are sitting, okay, so you maintain a particular position, you never fall, isn't it? So कैसे ये position maintain हो रहा है? That is because of the position sense, and this is called as a proprioceptive receptors. This is so special sensations which is carried through these points like tendon, joints, muscles, etc. So that is called as proprioceptive receptor. इसी में एक और आता है कि बैलेंस. ओके, सो बैलेंस जो इक्विलिब्रियम को जो भी मेंटेन करने वाला जो वेस्टिबुलर सिस्टम है वो भी इसी में आता है. ओके, सो दैट मीन्स यू विल, आप बेंड होकर नहीं खड़े होते ना, स्ट्रेट खड़े हो जाएंगे. सो दैट मीन्स आपका बैलेंस कभी बिगड़ेगा नहीं. आप इतना चलते हो तो बैलेंस कभी नहीं बिगड़ेगा क्योंकि वो मेंटेन हो रहा है because of this. Okay, now certain actions like walking on the floor, scratching the skin by closing the eyes, etc. is possible by this, isn't it? कभी कभी आंख बंद करके हम खुजली करते हैं ना, तो आपको कैसे पता है कि जो जहाँ पे खुजली हो रही है वहीं पे मैं टच कर रहा हूँ? ठीक है, क्योंकि आप आंख बंद किया तो भी जो है पोजीशन सेंस से जो है आपने वहीं पे अपना उंगली रखा इचिंग करने के लिए. सो दिस इज अ टाइप ऑफ प्रोप्रियोसेप्टिव रिसेप्टर्स एक्शन, प्रोप्रियोसेप्टिव फंक्शन से हो रहा है. ओके, सो लाइक दिस नर्व सिस्टम इज पेरिफेरल सेंसरी नर्व सिस्टम. सेंसरी नर्व सिस्टम पेरिफेरल पार्ट, इट इज डिवाइडेड इनटू visceral and somatic. Somatic is again पहले कैसे डिवाइड होता? It is divided into special and general, and general is again divided into somatic and visceral, and somatic is again divided into the crude touch, vibration, position sense, etc. And another one is proprioception. Another one is proprioception. Now go to the next part. So this is all about the peripheral nerve system and sensory part. Okay? So now come to the peripheral nerve system, sensory. Now peripheral nerve system, motor part. है ना? वहाँ से रेस्पॉन्स जो आ रहा है उस रेस्पॉन्स को भी नीचे लेके जा रहा है, लेके आ रहा है कुछ नर्व फाइबर्स. सो दे आर कॉल्ड एज पेरिफेरल नर्व सिस्टम, बट मोटार पार्ट. मोटार पेरिफेरल नर्व सिस्टम. सेंसेशन को तो हमने देख लिया, नीचे से ऊपर जाने वाला सभी चीज. Okay, now look at motor peripheral system. Motor peripheral nerve system is related with carrying the motor response which is produced from the CNS to the peripheral parts of the body. Okay, to the peripheral parts of the body. Now, this motor peripheral system is again divided into two parts. One is voluntary and another one is involuntary fibers. The motor fibers which is coming from the center towards the periphery is of two types. One is voluntary muscle fiber, motor fibers, motor nerve fibers. Another one is involuntary nerve fibers. The voluntary muscle responses are carried to the voluntary muscles of the body. जो voluntary muscles है, voluntary जो nerves है, so they carry the response to the voluntary muscles of the body. That is skeletal muscles of the body, like skeletal muscles of the body. Okay. Meanwhile, certain parts of the motor peripheral nerve system carries the involuntary motor responses. ठीक है. So peripheral body system में, peripheral body का जो peripheral area में जो motor nerves है वो they will come by two ways. Some of them are voluntary and some of them are involuntary. All the voluntary nerve fibers, they come and attach to the voluntary muscles, that is skeletal muscles of the body. All the skeletal muscles of the body, we have one nerve. And some part of the body is connected by the involuntary motor fibers. Involuntary motor fibers. Okay. Now, the involuntary motor responses coming from the center towards the periphery, they are also called as autonomic motor responses. Autonomic motor responses. For example, आपका ब्लड वेसल जो है कितना एक्सटेंड होना है और कितना कंस्ट्रक्शन होना है ना, ये तो इनवॉलंटरी चल रहा है. तो ब्लड वेसल्स में जो स्मूथ मसल्स है उसको कौन दे रहा है रेस्पॉन्स? वो तो इनवॉलंटरी मसल फाइबर्स दे रहा है. वॉलंटरी तो आप नहीं कर रहे. ठीक है, यू आर डूइंग द ब्रीदिंग. वॉलंटरली इट इज नॉट हैपनिंग. इनवॉलंटरी इज गोइंग ऑन, isn't it? So that is also because of this. So those fibers which brings the motor response from the center to the periphery, or those fibers which brings the involuntary responses from the center to the periphery, so they are also called as autonomic nerve responses. Okay, so these involuntary responses are carried to the smooth muscles, glands, heart functioning, salivation, lacrimation, etc. We know that heart जो अपने आप काम कर रहा है ना, हम तो नहीं कर रहा है. स्मूथ मसल का काम अपने आप चल रहा है. देन सेलाइवेशन, ग्लैंडुलर सेक्रेशन. जब फूड आएगा तो तुरंत जो है वहाँ पे ग्लैंड से सेक्रेशन आ जाएगा. इनवॉलंटरी है. हाउ दिस इज मीडिएटेड? दिस इज मीडिएटेड बाय द सेंसेशन विच इज कमिंग फ्रॉम द सेंटर ओनली, but it is carried through the involuntary muscle nerve fibers. Okay, involuntary nerve fibers, and it is giving to all these structures. Okay, it is not under conscious control. So it is also called as autonomic motor responses. Okay, so this is one part. Now, these autonomic motor responses जो ऊपर से नीचे तक आ रहा है, कहाँ पे आ रहा है? ग्लैंड्स में आ रहा है, हार्ट को आ रहा है, इंटेस्टाइनल मोटिलिटी के लिए आ रहा है ना, और उसके बाद ग्लैंडुलर सेक्रेशंस के लिए आ रहा है, सेलिवेशन के लिए आ रहा है, रेस्पिरेशन के लिए आ रहा है. सो मेनी इनवॉलंटरी रेस्पॉन्सेस आर कमिंग फ्रॉम द सेंटर टूवर्ड्स द पेरिफेरी एंड डूइंग इट्स फंक्शन इन विदाउट नोइंग आवर कॉन्शियसनेस. हमारे कॉन्शियसनेस को पता ही नहीं, अपना काम वो कर रहा है. Okay, this is called as autonomic nerve responses, and these responses जो involuntary response जो मैं बता रहा हूँ, that will be carried to the peripheral parts of the body by two important systems. What is that? One is sympathetic nervous system, another one is parasympathetic nervous system. So sympathetic and parasympathetic are the division of a peripheral motor nervous system. In the peripheral motor nervous system, so they are the division of involuntary peripheral nervous system. Involuntary, voluntary is a other. The spinal muscles, spinal जो nerves है वो सब जो आ रहा है, so they are supplying to the voluntary muscles, skeletal muscles, but this is not like that. So they are called as sympathetic and parasympathetic responses. So whenever I say sympathetic and parasympathetic, the action is taking place involuntarily. है ना, आपका कितना गैस्ट्रिक जूस सेक्रेशन होना है, ग्लैंड से सेक्रेशन आना है, सलाइवेशन कितना होना है, ये तो आप थोड़ी कर रहे हो. It is going on involuntarily. And how it is mediated? It is mediated by these sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves. Okay. So now certain involuntary motor responses prepare the body to face the stress. So कुछ जो है सेंटर से इंफॉर्मेशन आ रहा है आपका नीचे तक, वो क्या करता है, वो आपका बॉडी को स्ट्रेस को फेस करने के लिए रेडी करता है. ओके, सो it prepared the body for fear, fight, etc. by increasing the heart rate and muscle contraction, etc. Okay, so कुछ जो है involuntary वो आता है ऊपर से नीचे तक, and they prepare your body for the emergency. ठीक है, आपको चलना है तो अभी क्या है, मस्कुलर एक्टिविटी चलना है, मस्कुलर एक्टिविटी होना है तो ब्लड सर्कुलेशन बढ़ना है, ब्लड सर्कुलेशन बढ़ना है तो हार्ट रेट बढ़ना है. सो इनवॉलंटरली इट विल प्रिपेयर ऑल दीज थिंग्स. ओके, एक कुत्ता आपका पीछे भाग रहा है तो आपको दौड़ना है तो क्या है कि आपका मसल मूवमेंट बढ़ना है, हार्ट रेट बढ़ना है. सो इनवॉलंटरी प्रिपेयर्स कि नोबडी विल टेल, इनवॉलंटरी ये अपने आप प्रिपेयर करता है आपका बॉडी. सो वन विच प्रिपेयर्स फॉर द इमरजेंसी, मे बी इन द फियर, वाइवा फेस करते वक्त आपका धड़कन बहुत तेज चलता है, ठीक है, एट द टाइम ऑफ वाइवास. ओके, दैट इज द बॉडी इज प्रिपेयरिंग योर बॉडी फॉर ए इमरजेंसी. Okay, such a system which is involuntary and preparing your body for the emergency is called a sympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic, it increases the muscle tone, it increases the circulation. Okay, it increases the muscle tone, etc. Whereas one which keep your body in rest, आपका बॉडी को अभी कोई इमरजेंसी नहीं है, you want to take the rest or you want to take the food, you want to go for the excretion. So normal activity, you want to go for sleep. Okay, so one which involuntarily make ready your body for this situation, इसके लिए जो response ऊपर से नीचे तक आता है, that will be carried by the parasympathetic nerves. So sympathetic and parasympathetic are the two divisions of peripheral motor system, involuntary. Okay. So this is how the division goes. Now, if you again want to divide the nervous system anatomically, अगर nervous system को आप divide करना चाहते हैं, okay, anatomically the nervous system is divided, or brain. Now first we'll go for the brain. Okay, in the brain, how it is divided. Anatomically, the brain is divided into three main parts. Okay, one is prosencephalon. Prosencephalon is also called as forebrain. आगे वाला पार्ट है, cerebellum वगैरह आता है इसमें. Another one is mesencephalon. Mesencephalon is a midbrain. Another one is rhombencephalon. Rhombencephalon is hindbrain. पीछे का पोर्शन है, आपका medulla oblongata, spinal cord सब इसमें आता है. So this is structural classification. Okay. Now prosencephalon is a forebrain, that is the one which contains the cerebral hemisphere. Okay. The deeper portion of the prosencephalon. Okay. Now carefully understand this point. We know the prosencephalon, that is a forebrain, that is majorly contained in the cerebral hemisphere. The deeper portion, इसी जो है prosencephalon है, इसका जो डीपर मोस्ट पोर्शन है, इट इज कॉल्ड एज डायनसेफेलॉन. सेम प्रोसेंसेफेलॉन का जो डीप पोर्शन है, अंदर का पोर्शन है, that is called as a diencephalon. That means if you take a banana as the prosencephalon, the pulp of the banana, that is called as diencephalon, and the outermost chilka, okay, outermost portion of the banana, so that is called as telencephalon. Okay, so in the forebrain, the deepermost area is called as diencephalon, the outermost area or peripheral most area, that is called as telencephalon. Okay, clear. Now midbrain includes mesencephalon. Mesencephalon matlab midbrain. Now this midbrain contains different nuclei. What is the specialty of the midbrain? Midbrain contain बहुत सारे nucleus है, basal ganglia, hypothalamus, ये वो, ऐसे बहुत सारे, there are many nucleus. Okay, midbrain includes different nuclei like and basal ganglia and cerebral aqueduct. Okay, whereas forebrain, that is also called as rhombencephalon, that includes cerebellum, pons, and medulla oblongata. Clear? There is no spinal cord. Medulla oblongata, pons, cerebellum. So now this is structurally how it is divided. Anatomically, the brain is divided into three parts: prosencephalon, mesencephalon, and as well as rhombencephalon. Prosencephalon, the deepermost portion, is called as diencephalon, and the peripheral parts of the prosencephalon is called as telencephalon. Then in case of mesencephalon and rhombencephalon, there is no such confusions. Okay. Now we come to the next part. When we study the structure of the CNS, ठीक है, so superficially हमने structure को देख लिया. Now when we study the structure of the CNS, basically we find two types of the cells. जो cells को देखेंगे हम CNS का, CNS मतलब पूरा आ गया इसमें, cerebellum, midbrain, everything comes under this. Okay. So there are basically two types of the cells are present. One is neuronal cells. They are considered as the basic cells of CNS, structural and functional units of the CNS. Just like alveoli is structural and functional units of the lungs. Nephron is the structural and functional units of the kidney. Similarly, neuron is the structural and functional units of the brain. So one type of cell is neuronal cells. Okay, and what is the specialty of this neuronal cell is it has got an electromagnetic property. ये इसका specialty है. Neuronal cells have got electromagnetic property. They can produce some impulse. They can transmit it. And also impulse conduction. They can even conduct that impulse. So इसी की वजह से it is able to give a motor response, because when the sensations are received, that sensation is later compared and analyzed everything. Afterwards, it gives a motor response in the form of an electromagnetic impulse, because that neuron has got that capacity. Okay, so these are the two important specialities of neuronal cells. It has got electromagnetic property, an electrical discharge will be produced there, and also impulse conduction capacity. Second type of the cell which is present inside the CNS is glial cells. What do you mean by glial cells? Glial cells are supportive cells of the brain. They are just supportive cells of the brain. Sometimes you know that glial cell gliomas occur, है ना? Astroglioma, astrocytoma. So a glioma सब आता है, glial cell tumors आता है कभी. That may also cause the problem because it compress the nerve cells. Okay, so these are the two types of cells. One is neuronal cells, another one is glial cells. Now this neuron, which is structural and functional unit of the brain, actually contain two parts. Neurons में जो है two parts. Okay, the first one is a cell portion of the neuron, and second one is a tail portion of the neuron. है ना, एक न्यूरॉन बाकी आपके एपिथेलियल सेल जैसा नहीं है. एपिथेलियल सेल तो एक सेल है, एक सेल मेम्ब्रेन है और उसमें जो न्यूक्लियस है सब चलता है. बट यहाँ पे द न्यूरॉन्स विल हैव ए सेल पोर्शन and also it has got a tail portion. Okay, the tail portion of the neuron एक लंबा है, पूंछ जैसा है, so that is called as axon. Okay, and cell portion of the neuron, that is called as body of the neuron. So neuron basically contains body of the neuron and axons. Okay. Now what is actually happening is the cell portion of the neuron का जो cell portion है जिसको हम body बोलते हैं, its color is grey color. इसका कलर जो है वो ग्रे कलर है, ठीक है. एंड इसका जो टेल पोर्शन है जिसको हम एक्सन बोलते हैं, इसका कलर है वाइट है. ओके, इट लुक्स ग्रे एंड टेल लुक्स वाइट. नाउ व्हाट हैपेंस? So there are millions and millions of neurons are present inside the brain. We know that millions and millions of neurons are present inside the brain. ठीक है. If I say cerebellum means cerebellum may be containing thousands of millions of neurons. It is accumulated there. Now suppose all the cell portion or body portion of the neurons are collected at a place and a tail is coming out of them, that is axon is coming out of them. The area where the cell portion is get collected together, so that looks very gray because cell portion is having gray color. ठीक है, so that looks very gray. So that portion is called as gray matter. That portion is called as gray matter. Suppose all the axons are collected together in a bundle, then that portion looks like white color, and that is called as white matter. So therefore inside the brain we have got two matters. One is gray matter, another one is white matter. Gray matter is also a neuron, white matter is also a neuron. Gray matter is the cell portion of the neuron and white matter is the axonal portion of the neurons. To understand this very clearly, I have given many times this example. बहुत सारे चूहे हैं, मतलब एक 10,000 चूहे हैं, ठीक है. अब सोचो 10,000 चूहे एक ही जगह में इकट्ठे हो गए. अब जहां पे चूहे का बॉडी है वो एरिया क्या बन गया? ग्रे मैटर बन गया. ये चूहे का सभी जो टेल्स है ना, टेल, वो जो है व्हाइट मैटर बन गया. दिस इज एग्जैक्टली हाउ द ग्रे मैटर एंड व्हाइट मैटर इज अरेंज्ड इनसाइड द ब्रेन. ओके, नाउ दैट व्हाइट मैटर, दैट इज an axon. It's a white matter, and function of the white matter is to carry the impulse. Function of the gray matter is to produce a impulse. ठीक है, मोटर रेस्पॉन्स जब आता है वो जो बना के देता है, one which is produced from the gray matter will be carried by the white matter. One which is produced by the cell of the neuron or body of the neuron will be carried by the axons of the neurons. That's all. Okay, so gray matter is that cell portion of the neuron which is collected over the upper surface of the cerebellum, and it is called as cortex, and we have a different cortex. Now again, understanding this is very important. Inside the cells we find two portions like gray matter and white matter. That's clear. Now inside the brain, now gray matter is a cell portion or body portion of the neuron, and it is collected over the upper surface of the cerebellum. है ना, ग्रे मैटर ऊपर है, अपर सरफेस ऑफ द सेरेबेलम, एंड इट इज कॉल्ड एज कॉर्टेक्स. सच ग्रुप ऑफ ग्रे मैटर और बॉडी ऑफ द न्यूरॉन और cell part of the neuron which is present in the cerebrum area is called as cerebral cortex. Same gray matter which is present in the cerebellar area, that is called as cerebellar cortex. Okay, sometimes there is no such cortex and all. These gray matters are accumulated here and there. They are called as different nuclei. Different nuclei are also basically nothing but the collection of the gray matter. Okay, so many nucleus, quadrate nucleus, lentiform nucleus, in the hypothalamus so many nucleuses are there, basal ganglia so many nucleuses are there. Okay, so they are nothing but the collected portion of the gray matter. So same gray matter which is collected in the very small masses, node like structures. Okay, in the deeper portion of the brain it is called as nucleus. For the cranial nerves we have got all the nucleus. There actually the nucleus is nothing but they are the collection of the gray matter. Quadrate nucleus, lentiform nucleus. Okay, many nucleuses are there. So those which are collected at the base of the brain are called as basal nucleus. Such group of nucleuses which is made by this gray matter, which is collected at the base of the brain, so they are called as basal nucleus, and that totally constitute the area of a basal ganglion. Similarly, we have got other ganglions or other nucleus also. जो बेसल एरिया में जो बहुत सारे न्यूक्लियस हैं उसको इकट्ठा करके हम एक नाम देते हैं जिसका नाम है बेसल गैंग्लियन। ऐसे बहुत सारे न्यूक्लियस नीचे भी है। फॉर द डिफरेंट क्रेनियल नर्व्स वी हैव गॉट डिफरेंट न्यूक्लियस। फेशियल नर्व का न्यूक्लियस है, ठीक है, ऑप्थेल्मिक नर्व का न्यूक्लियस है, उसके बाद क्या सा आपका ग्लोसोफेरिंजियल नर्व का न्यूक्लियस है। एवरी क्रेनियल नर्व हैज गॉट इट्स ओन न्यूक्लियस। एक्चुअली व्हाट इज दिस न्यूक्लियस? दैट न्यूक्लियस इज नथिंग बट द ग्रे मैटर, और वहां से जो है उसके बाद उसका व्हाइट मैटर भी निकलता है। नाउ फ्रॉम द सेल पोर्शंस ऑफ द न्यूरॉन्स द टेल लाइक एक्सॉन स्टार्ट्स। नाउ विल टॉक अबाउट व्हाइट मैटर। सो इनसाइड द ब्रेन ग्रे मैटर इज प्रेजेंट आउटसाइड, व्हाइट मैटर इज प्रेजेंट इनसाइड। स्पाइनल कॉर्ड में व्हाइट मैटर इज प्रेजेंट आउटसाइड एंड ग्रे मैटर इज प्रेजेंट इनसाइड। दिस इज अ डिफरेंस। ओके, सो नाउ from the cell portions of the neurons, the tail-like axon comes out and collect in the deeper portions which is called as white matter. ठीक है, बाहर सब ऐसे चूहे बैठे हैं और चूहे का टेल सब अंदर की ओर है, डीप में है, डीप में जा रहा है, ठीक है। So that is present in the deeper portions of the nucleus in the brain. Okay, so they are called as white matter because axons always looks white. This white matter is a major portion which conducts the impulses from the periphery to the brain and brain to the periphery. ये जो white matter है, so this is nothing but this is the one which carries the impulse. This will not produce an impulse. इसका function ये की है, क्या है? Carry करना। Therefore, in all the white matter disorders, higher mental functions of the person is not affected. Only the motor functions are affected because the white matter is affected in white matter disorder. And white matter is related with the carrying the impulses, maybe the motor impulses or maybe the sensory perception. So sensory and motor problems will be there. So what happens now? While this white matter is carrying, ठीक है, अगर मेरा जो है suppose my deltoid muscle is supplied by one particular nerve, that nerve is nothing but axon portion of the neuron. Some of the neurons have a long axons, ठीक है। Sometimes an axon will be connected by another axon by means of interneurons. So that means all the peripheral nerves, what are they actually? I can take the radial nerve, ulnar nerve, this nerve, that nerve, spinal nerve. They are nothing but white matter. They are all the tail portion of the neurons. Okay. Now, this white matter is a major portion which conducts the impulses from the periphery to the brain and brain to the periphery. Some of the white matter which is arranged in bundles brings the sensory perception from the periphery to the brain and they are called as ascending tracts. Yes, now you have to understand. White matter is of two types. You know, white matter performs two functions. White matter also brings the motor impulses from the center to the periphery, and this white matter or peripheral sensory nerves, that is also white matter only. Okay, they are all the axon portion of the nerve. So they bring the sensation from the periphery to center. ठीक है, पेरिफेरल जो है स्किन रिसेप्टर्स है वहां पे कुछ सेंसेशन हुआ, which sensation is carried through the sensory nerve which is again a white matter to the center. So white matter is performing these two important functions, and that sensory fibers which is carrying the sensation from the periphery to the center, they are called as ascending tracts means white matter always. Okay, so they are called as ascending tracts, and that one which is bringing the motor responses from the center to the periphery, it is called as descending tracts. It's also called as descending fibers. Clear? Now, those white matter bundles which brings the motor responses from the brain to the periphery are called as descending tracts. One which is taking from the periphery to the center, they are called as ascending tracts. Now go to the next portion. The bundles of the white matter which communicate between, now sometimes this, ये तो हो गया नीचे से ऊपर, ऊपर से नीचे। ब्रेन के अंदर भी जो है व्हाइट मैटर इधर उधर जाता है। some of the fibers are there which connect the right portion of the brain with the left portion of the brain. Okay, inside the brain बात कर रहा हूं मैं, inside the brain some of the right cerebellum को left cerebellum से connect कर रहा है. For example, corpus callosum. Okay, corpus callosum is nothing but a bundle of tracts, white matter. Now the tracts or the bundle of this white matter which connects the right portion of the brain to the left portion of the brain, it is called as commissures. They are called as commissure. Corpus callosum connects the right and left cerebral cortex, so it's called as, it's a type of commissures. COMMISSERS, commissures. Similarly, these white matter tracts, not only motor and sensory, they also connect inside the brain. Some white matter bundles which connect the anterior portion of the brain with the posterior portion of the brain. Okay, brain का आगे का portion, anterior portion को posterior portion से connect करता है. Inside the brain only network, and that is called as associate fibers, commissures, and this is called as commissure is a पहले वाला है, and this is called as associate fibers. Okay, like these fibers also run all over the brain by connecting different parts of the CNS. So therefore white matter not only give the motor tracts or sensory tracts, it also connects within the brain also. Innumerable connections, आप सोच नहीं सकते उतना connections है वो. Okay, so like this the fibers runs all over the body of the brain, all over the brain by connecting the different parts of the CNS in a ways leading to the densely packed white matter. इसलिए क्या होता है कि associate fibers आगे से पीछे जा रहा है, कमिशर फाइबर्स राइट से लेफ्ट जा रहा है, तो वहां पे क्या है कि पूरा एक बंडल बन गया है. तो सेंटर ऑफ द ब्रेन इसकी वजह से कैसे दिखेगा, मतलब डीप पोर्शन ऑफ द ब्रेन इसकी वजह से कैसे दिखेगा, वाइट दिखेगा, क्योंकि पूरा पूरा ट्रैक्स ही ट्रैक्स है. Therefore deep of the brain we will have white matter, and superficial area of the brain we have got gray matter. Okay, so gray matter के लिए प्रोटेक्शन है, हमारा cranial cavity जो है उसके लिए प्रोटेक्शन है. White matter is present inside. Now, the fibers carrying the motor responses runs down at the junction of medulla oblongata. पता है जितना भी जो descending tracts है जो सेंट्रल नर्व सिस्टम से मोटर रेस्पॉन्स को लेके नीचे तक लेके जाता है पेरिफेरी में, सो दे हैज टू पास थ्रू द मेडुला ऑब्लोंगेटा, इजंट इट. इनिशियली देयर इज फॉर्मेशन ऑफ व्हाट यू से इंटरनल कैप्सूल, जितना भी फाइबर्स है वो सब इंटरनल कैप्सूल में इकट्ठा हो जाते हैं. सो देन कम्स टू द मिड ब्रेन, फ्रॉम द मिड ब्रेन इट रीचेस अ पॉन्स, फ्रॉम द पॉन्स इट कम्स टू द मेडुला ऑब्लोंगेटा. नाउ यहाँ पे समथिंग इज हैपनिंग व्हेन इट कम्स टू द मेडुला ऑब्लोंगेटा. ओके, some of the fibers which is originating from the right side of the brain, now they cross to the left side. Not all the fibers, some of the fibers, and some of the fibers which is originated from the right side, they cross to the left side, and from the left side they cross to the right side. Okay, so this type of fibers which cross at the level of medulla oblongata is called as decussating fibers. So we have got three types of fibers. One is commissural fibers, associate fibers, and decussating fibers. Decussating fibers. Similarly, sensory fibers also, when carrying sensation to the brain, also cross to the opposite side of the midbrain. Okay, so they also carry to the opposite side of the midbrain. What I mean to say? Sensation has been carried from the peripheral parts of the body to the center. Okay, so they also when come upside, जब वो ऊपर आ रहा है, मोटर फाइबर्स कहाँ पे क्रॉस हो रहा है, मेडुला ऑब्लोंगेटा में क्रॉस हो रहा है. सिमिलरली सेंसरी फाइबर्स नीचे से जब ऊपर तक आ रहा है, ठीक है, उसमें भी कुछ फाइबर्स क्या होता है कि राइट साइड से जो आता हुआ जो फाइबर्स है वो लेफ्ट साइड में क्रॉस हो जाएंगे, लेफ्ट साइड से आए हुए कुछ फाइबर्स राइट साइड में क्रॉस हो जाएंगे, बट जंक्शन अलग है. दे ऑल्सो क्रॉस टू द ऑपोजिट साइड एट अ मिड ब्रेन लेवल. मिड ब्रेन लेवल में या हाइपोथैलेमिक लेवल में वो क्रॉस होते हैं. ओके, दिस इज द डिफरेंस. द मोटर फाइबर्स इज कमिंग फ्रॉम द अप टू द डाउन, दे क्रॉस एट द लेवल ऑफ मेडुला ऑब्लोंगेटा. Sensory fibers which is going upward, they will not cross at the level of medulla oblongata, rather they will going to cross at the level of midbrain. ठीक है, so thus they form the reticular formation. जो sensory fibers है राइट साइड से लेफ्ट साइड में जा रहा है और लेफ्ट साइड से राइट साइड में जा रहा है, तो वहां पे एक नेटवर्क जैसा बन रहा है, एंड दैट फॉर्मेशन इज कॉल्ड एज रेटिकुलर फॉर्मेशन, वेयर at the midbrain or hypothalamic area. Okay, so this is also a type of white matter only, but it is forming a reticular formation. Reticular formation is always related to sensory nerve fibers. ठीक है, जब हम सोते हैं तो क्या होता है कि रेटिकुलर फाइबर्स है ना, ये इनएक्टिव होते हैं. जब हम सोते हैं तो कोई सेंसेशन नहीं होता है, तो कोई सेंसेशन कैरी नहीं करना होता है ऊपर तक, तो ये जो है सो जाते हैं. जब रेटिकुलर फॉर्मेशन वाला जो एरिया है सेरेबेलम से डिस्कनेक्ट हो जाता है, डिस्कनेक्ट मतलब फंक्शनली डिस्कनेक्ट हो जाता है, सो देन द पर्सन विल गोइंग टू गेट द स्लीप. कोई सेंसेशन ही नहीं आ रहा है. ठीक है, वो वी विल डिस्कस लेटर. As they cross to the opposite side in the spinal cord, white matter comes to the periphery and gray matter in the center. Now, what happens in the center, in the peripheral area, especially in the spinal cord, वहाँ का center का उल्टा हो रहा है. In the center, gray matter is present outside and white matter present deep inside. But when you talk about spinal cord, white matter is taking the information from the lower part to the upper part, no? So they are running superficially. And gray matter is present inside because there are so many tracts, so therefore gray matter is pushed inside in the spinal cord area. So in the spinal cord, if you see, gray matter will be inside and white matter will be upside or superficial. Okay, so this is a basic information. This is somewhat about the basic information of the nervous system. Okay, so this is how nervous system is divided and how the fibers are there. What do you mean by white matter? What do you mean by gray matter? Okay, so what are the structural differentiation? What do you mean by autonomic nervous system? How they are working? बहुत ही superficial, very superficial explanation of the nervous system so that we can study further. Okay, this is the simplest explanation of introduction to nervous system. Thank you very much.